is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Oh, hello there. Very nice to meet you.
Well, let's get back to it.
The Met Office has warned that winter is knocking on the door as Britons prepare to battle frost and heavy rain this Remembrance weekend.
Oh, no.
This frost and rain are exactly what Cruella Doberman has been warning us about. It's hate weather, which is caused by enemy elements, and the police need to stop molly-coddling lefty woke protesters and get tough on the kind of weather that desecrates this day of peace. The day of peace when we all stand respectful and silent for 2 minutes in the supermarket while thinking, oh, that's been 2 minutes now, hasn't it? Forecasters have warned that temperatures will remain in the single digits all weekend after the mercury plunged to -6 centigrade overnight, and I would translate European surrender temperatures for His Majesty's Fahrenheit, but to do that you multiply by 2 and add 32, but you can't multiply a minus number, as any fool will tell you.
Yeah.
The big chill comes as a light sprinkling of mizzle caused impassable floods and left hundreds of households without power, which is perfectly normal in a well-run country. There are 2 flood warnings.
Warning.
And 8 flood alerts currently in force, but that don't help much as nobody knows the difference between a warning and an alert. Tomorrow will bring another cold and frosty start for many, but the meteorologists say the morning sun will burn away any mist or fog early on, leaving plenty of sunshine. You remember sunshine, don't you?
No.
Sunday will start frosty. Temperatures going down to -1°C in some areas, and I hope that your area remains unaffected. Meanwhile, Avon Fire and Rescue Service warned drivers not to enter deep water in their vehicles. In a post on social media, they wrote, "We've already been called out twice this morning to cars in floodwater." They wrote, "Our advice for floodwater on the road is, if you see a flooded road ahead, turn around and find an alternative route." And what people understood when they read that was speed up and create a wave that could sink a boat when you blast through any flooded area of the road without knowing how deep it is, because you are special and nothing bad will ever happen to you. Meteorologist James warned that a band of low pressure could bring snow within days. Snow? He said it was likely that snow could fall in Scotland, predicting even greater and more significant dumps of snow across to high ground. Now, I do have a thing for that, but it might take me a while. One moment. It'll be worth it. No, not on this page. Just amuse yourself, and then in short measure, I will amuse you too. Where is it? Oh, I can't find it. That's very disappointing. Well, I haven't really used it at all ever because it's just a little bit rude. It's Donald Trump saying something that perhaps he shouldn't oughta. Not out loud, anyway. Oh, no. Can't find it. I'm very disappointed. Anyway, it's Donald Trump saying, big, massive dumps all over. Would you like to hear the long-range forecast for the next 4 weeks?
No.
OK, for the next 2 weeks, unsettled, wet and windy, followed by a quiet interlude next weekend, which will then be followed by a week more rain, which is N-O-N, normal on November. Never mind. N-O-N, which stands for normal in November. That's just a fact. And then, last week of November, first week of December, periods of strong winds and heavy rain. And if it's not heavy rain, it'll be showers. Well, I suppose we're going to have to take it, aren't we? 0345 6060 973. Stu from Ipswich says, "Hi, Nick. It seems that David Icke completely agrees with everything in Nadine's book. This is a fantastic endorsement, and I will put this book on my Christmas list. My wife says I should read more comic fiction. It might cheer me up. I've been told that the book is called Plot, which she and Icke have lost." I couldn't be bothered to read a single solitary word that woman wrote. I just don't care. Was it like a love letter to Mr. Blobby?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Not interested. And as for shady shenanigans going on in the back, well, I mean, we just assume that that's the case, don't we? Eric in Colorado says, I think Rishi should sack Braverman. I could do with a laugh over the winter months, and we could have another new PM by January. Yeah, maybe we could try out one of the old ones.
Absolutely.
Give her a run around. Run her around the block. See what happens. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? And a text from Tom says, I can't help but think that Rishi Sunak and Suella Braverman represent everything that we don't want or need in politics. Shall we start there then? No, you know what? Let's start last week. Almost, this is an add-on to what we were talking about last week. In fact, it was pretty much the only thing that we were all talking about last week. We all drew up our petticoats and almost went into a Victorian fainting fit after what we heard about last week. And on top of that, almost 60,000 London renters could be pushed into homelessness by 2030 if the government does not increase housing support, according to a new analysis. The warning comes after figures last week showed that rough sleeping in the capital is the highest since the records began, as in ever, with more than 4,000 people choosing the lifestyle of freezing to death if they don't starve first. But we won't worry about that, because all of our concern about the homeless was spent last week when the country was gripped by fury because they were either for or against homeless people's tents being taken away as the temperatures dips below freezing. I mean, seriously, do you feel as though you've been had? All last week, the topic that sucked all of the oxygen out of the air was Cruella Doberman's little scheme to make it illegal to help those most in need by finding charities who doled out the flimsiest of protections against the elements. Quite flimsy. They were the flimsiest. About to become law, they said, and the wokey-cokey had a fit you could see through concrete.
Okie dokie.
And the right wing had an equal but opposite reaction, yelling through their Hannibal Lecter face masks that it serves them right. They shouldn't have decided to become poor. They should bleep off back to their own country, even if this is their own country. And the King's speech came and went when a billionaire in a sparkly hat worth more than Titchy Suit-Size's wife was forced to read out what misery awaits us when Parliament restarts. And the ripping tents from homeless people wasn't in it. Not going to become law. All a massive distraction. I mean, they're playing us like a violin now, aren't they? The government gets us riled up about something that's not going to happen, and we proles won't notice when they dole out a few £100 million contracts to friends of the regime to fix things that they broke. So our capacity to be troubled by the plight of the homeless has been eroded. You know, that was last week's thing. So the news that homelessness is at an all-time high after 13 years of caring conservatism, and that number is about to be turbo-boosted by the asylum seekers who are about to get dumped out onto the street, and the Afghans who helped save our troops are about to get dumped out onto the street, and now we learn that 60,000 people are about to become homeless because their housing allowance isn't going up, like rents are. Truly, we have won the war on want, because if we can be distracted enough by other things not to think about those who need help, they simply will not exist anymore. Problem solved. And instead of helping those who have experienced bad luck, who have nothing, we will instead witness the cutting of taxes for those who already have plenty. It's just what Jesus would want. Truly, this government is guided by its faith. You know, only 2.3% of London listings on Rightmove this year were found to be affordable to those using the benefit to pay their rent. 2.3. And that's down from about 19% the previous year. 19% of the London listings on Rightmove, the estate agent's website, 19% was affordable for those on benefit. This year, 2.3. 2.3% of London listings. But, you know, if those people did not choose to be poor, then this would not be an issue. That's just a fact.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
What we got here is a failure to communicate.
Yes, that's right. Let me fail to communicate with a person called Margaret in Durham. Margaret.
Hi. Oh, God, what a mess we are in. I was very interested this week to read that the United Nations has finally said it is not right that we've got so many children living not in poverty but in destitution in this country. That, to me, says it all. It says, yes, I was right. The country is run by Mr. G. Reid, greed, avarice, everything's gone. We are disgusting. We talk about the fifth richest country in the land.
Sixth.
Why are millions of children living in poverty? Who's getting this money? If we're that rich, who's getting the money? It's not going to children.
Is it Jeff?
Is it?
Jeff.
Jeff who?
I don't know. Is it a guy called Jeff?
I don't know.
Who's getting all the money?
I don't know. Could be.
Is it Dave?
Could be Tom. Could
John.
be Tom.
Yeah,
Thurm.
Tom.
Could be
Right,
Tom
Tom.
Thurm. It could be Mickey Mouse. Who's getting the money? I am ashamed. I am
You're
disgusted.
shocked and stunned. Yeah, I get it. Okay, thanks a lot, Margaret. We're very, very emotional. She's never heard anything like it in her life. Chris in Stubbington says, hi, what Suella said about the homeless people being a lifestyle choice was disgusting.
Disgusting.
Suella is an appalling MP. Suella is an appalling MP. The one question I can't answer is, why do the people of Fareham keep electing her? Says Chris. She needs to be sacked. P.S. People of Fareham, please text or call in to defend your MP. No, people of Fareham, don't do anything of the sort. This is a Fareham-free zone. This text says, Braverman isn't fit for office, but then neither was Liz Lettuce.
Absolutely.
Or Boris Johnson.
Yeah. Wait.
Or Theresa May. I haven't got anything for her. Theresa May, you are not fit for office.
What?
And the jury is still out on Rishi Sunak. No, it isn't. The jury is in. Guilty. He ain't fit for office any more than the rest of them. And who voted for him to be in office, by the way? Not me, not you, not nobody. And please don't tell me, I cannot go through that whole thing again. Well, don't you realise that when we go and vote, we're not voting for the Prime Minister? Yeah, yes we are. Yes we are. This text says, Nick, have you seen that... maybe I'll get into that whole Camden council thing if absolutely Nessa. But at the moment, it's not Nessa. Daniel from Atherton says, even Thick Lizzie managed to scrape together the authority to sack Cruella in the dying gasps of her premiership. Fishy is a wet kipper. Well, that is just true. You seriously want to get on it, Fishy?
I am totally 100% on it.
He's 100% on it. He's only prepared to give us 100%, not 110% like your average footballer. Let's have a call in Rochester. Lulu.
Nick, darling,
Lulu,
how are you?
I am great, mate.
I'm glad to hear it. I just need to take issue with favourite callers, Jonathan, who...
What is at issue?
Oh, he called after I called last Friday and referred to me as an elderly...
Yeah. Well, how old are you?
A bit younger than you, but I look about 15 years younger. You ask anyone. Honestly, I am hot stuff. And he said...
I noticed that you didn't answer the question there, Lulu, so I'm going to guess very aged. Yes, you're an aged person. Carry on.
Younger than you, and you're a young spring chicken, so, you know...
That's true, yeah.
But
Lulu, this is one of these phone lines that, for some reason, I don't know how it does it or why it does it, but it chops off the first half of every word you're saying. So we're going to call you back. How does that sound? It's like a dream come true. We're going to get you on a fresh, brand new line. We're creating it at this moment in your honour. Marnie from Glastonbury says, hi Like she's the beginning of a Peter Gabriel song. Hi there. Hi there, she says. Well, hello there, Marnie. It's really lovely to hear you, says Marnie. You are vital in these dark days to help us to hang on to what's left of our sanity. Too much pressure. I ain't got nothing to do with your sanity, Marnie. You're going to have to corral that yourself. She says, P.S. I love your naming of the Home Secretary as Cruella Doberman. Well, I believe that I stole that from somebody else, but I can't remember who it was, so I'll pretend that it's mine. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Here is the recently returned Lulu. Lulu.
Oh, how's this, darling? Any good for you?
It's much, much better. I can hear you clearly now.
I've moved 12 inches to the right.
Clear as a bell.
Good. So I need to just express my displeasure at Jonathan, who dissed me badly last week.
Yes.
And normally I love him because he's hilarious. And he made me laugh so much. And not only him, but your reaction to him, that I had to get out of bed and take my inhaler. I was wheezy with laughter. So,
Well, you don't want to have an accident in bed. Always get out of bed before having an accident. That's the best advice you'll probably ever receive.
Oh, it's good advice. It's the best advice. So he referred to me, I went to see Trevor Nelson. I phoned you up. I told you that. Mm-hmm. I told you that my knee went.
Well, that will happen to an elderly person such as yourself if they suddenly throw themselves around a dance floor.
Yeah, but only because I was wearing heels. I was wearing ridiculous heels. And, if I'd been wearing flats, no problem. Anyway,
if you'd been wearing flats, you probably wouldn't have been allowed in. Trainers? No trainers in here.
No, I've got some very lovely flat boots that are quite sexy. But anyway, I wasn't wearing those on that evening. I was wearing my red high heels, and I danced. My knee went. Jonathan then...
Big mistake. Huge.
Yeah. But he took that and transferred it to an elderly lady who broke her leg.
Yes. We're all very, 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 very sorry for you, Lulu, being an elderly lady who broke her leg. Doing young person's things. It's beyond you, Lulu. That life is in your rearview mirror. Just let it go.
Yeah, but I know he's not big on details because he refers to Braverman as Cruella Braithwaite, so he's not big on detail, is he? So he got it totally wrong about me. A, I'm not elderly, I'm young and vibrant, and B, I did not break my leg.
Quite
so
old,
I just wanted to correct the record. When
old people break their legs, I'm afraid it takes a very long time for them to heal. You'll have your leg up for weeks. But thanks for the update. 0345 6060 973. This text says, Nigel Farage is going into the jungle. I'm sure he likes eating kangaroo's testicle. Everybody wins.
I'm a nutcase.
Is he? He's going into the jungle. Right. Why would he do that? Why would he do that? Apart from, for the obvious reason. What would he do that for? He hasn't been ridiculed enough? Is that true? He's going into the jungle?
Yes, they've announced it, but I've heard apparently he's still considering about it tonight.
He's considering his fee, no doubt. Yeah. John from Upminster said, "You said run around. Is that the old Mike Reid game show for kids? Is that how the government vote for their leader run around now? What are you talking about?" This is my show, and I have no idea what it's about. Let's have a call in Merthyr Tydfil. Hello, Jeff.
Hiya, Nick. I don't know if you saw the question time last night.
No.
It was dreadful. These people frothed. Guess what? 20 miles an hour.
Oh, God.
They were frothing.
Where was it?
Llandudno.
Really?
And there wasn't a Welsh accent to be heard all night, even amongst those who were put to talk about it.
Well, that's weird. Did those woolly sheep come down from the hills? Because last time I looked, Llandudno was a dangerous place to go because there were all these wild animals wandering about the place.
Goats,
yeah.
Well, anyway, the 20 miles an hour. So the discussion afterwards, it became absolutely transparent that everywhere, London, Leeds, Manchester, everywhere is imposing 20 miles an hour.
I'm so over this. Just stop whining, people, and get used to it, for crying out loud. Bunch of babies.
It's crazy. And it became obvious that it's a conservative thing. It's a Tory thing. It is anti-woke. It's everything that's wrong with the world, and it's so pathetic. I mean, you can't describe it anymore. This is what they're concerned about when you've got people taking homeless people's tents.
Yes.
They've taken them off them. It was on. I saw pictures on Twitter there with somebody in Camden. They throw in the tents on the back of it.
Okay, now you're forcing me to deal with that issue. Oh, all right. I thought I buried that whole homelessness, taking tents away from people thing at the beginning of the programme, because we were talking about virtually nothing else non-stop for all last week, and come to find out that Cruella Doberman has absolutely no intention of making that law. It wasn't in the King's speech. We were all just being yanked around.
We are indeed. And the thing is, Nick, there's a few problems happening in the Middle East at the moment.
No, I hadn't heard about that. Really?
It's sneaking through here and there.
I think if it were important, then it would definitely have been on the news. But I want you to keep your eyes peeled at all times and let me know if anything happens. All right, Jeff. How about that open cast mine? Are they still pulling the black stuff out of the ground?
Yep. Right. And I passed it today. You would not believe it. Something's going to happen there. The thing is going to collapse. It's the biggest hole in Europe. Right. November the 17th. When's that? I don't know what date it's next week sometime?
Yeah.
It's due to close.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, on November the 18th, I'm sure that it will have been all patched up and it'll look beautiful. Take a picture, Jeff. What a picture, what a photograph. I'll look forward to looking at that on a social media site near me. I keep forgetting that Instagram is... I keep forgetting that I've joined Instagram. I mean, I'm a very, very bad Twitterer, apart from anything else, but I'm an absolutely abysmal Instagrammer. I think I put up about 3 pictures, something like that, without explanation. I just put them up. I couldn't really figure out how it works, and I am not going to sit there staring at my mobile phone all day long, where I could be doing something much more valuable, like looking out the window, where you can see nature, the flora and fauna.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
You don't know what you're talking about, do you?
No, not on this or any other subject. Text says, Nick, have you seen that Camden Council and the police have been removing and destroying the tents of homeless folk? The Doberman must be punching the air. Yeah, it's a dream come true. Note from the glamorous assistant next door says, this was the response from the acting leader of Camden Council. Quotes, we are deeply concerned to see these videos, and I am ordering an urgent investigation into what happened. Nothing is more important to us than the welfare, safety and rights of every person who is experiencing homelessness. What, nothing? Really? Nothing is more important than that? Nothing? Not one single thing? Really? Is that true? They say our outreach team, Roots Off the Streets, have been working hard to offer support to every person sleeping rough in Camden, including access to accommodation and a range of other services. I'm also concerned that our contracted waste operator has been engaged in this operation, and I will be personally looking into why this happened. They've engaged a waste management consultant.
Absolutely.
Really? Well, might this have been the one outcome from hiving off your waste collection service to a private operator, where it used to be done by council operators? I mean, when the council collects your waste, using council employees, using council trucks, they do so for the benefit of the people. When a private waste management consultant takes away your waste. They do it for the benefit of the private waste management consultant and their shareholders. Don't they? God, do we own anything in this country anymore? I mean, right down to our water. We're the only country in the world, as in on Earth, ever, to sell off all of our water. Just us, only us. How's that working out, by the way?
Oh, fabulous.
Copenhagen. Hello, Stook.
Nick, how you doing? Sorry if I can't talk too loudly. My wife, I'm 1 hour ahead of you, and my wife gets a bit angry when I'm talking to you. I know it's ridiculous. I said, I feel like talking to Nick Abbot today, and she just gets in a huff and watches her dramas. But,
put the phone right next to her ear. That'll teach her.
Nick, I'm going to separate. Normally I love a good banter with you. It's been a few weeks since I've spoken to you. If I can get the banter out in the early part of our chat.
That rather supposes that there's going to be a later part of our chat.
I do, obviously.
This is the sound of you getting comfortable. I don't think that there's any suggestion that is in any way a good idea.
It's an invitation to treat, as I say.
Yeah.
One thing that came to mind during the whole COVID trial was I thought of you fondly when Dominic Cummings was walking to his testimony, and a reporter was saying, "Mr. Cummings, is your eyesight okay, Mr. Cummings?" Mm-hmm. So, I did think of you at that point.
That's
what a ridiculous
passes for journalism these days. Yeah,
absolutely. And moving on to the more serious points.
Are you going to resign, Minister? Yeah,
exactly, Nick. Nick, I've been listening to LBC quite thoroughly over the week, and one thing that hasn't come to mind. What about this scary scenario that Rishi buckles under the pressure?
Yeah,
he resigns, and there's a Conservative leadership election by which Suella Braverman is then appointed and becomes the Prime Minister. No one's actually raised that.
Yeah. No, I think we've raised it. We thought about it. It's just that we didn't want to say it out loud in case it, makes it happen. Thanks a lot, mate.
Oh, my goodness. And one thing that another caller, I don't like to regurgitate or plagiarise, as you call, any private eye material or any other callers, but there was an individual, sorry, however, if I can say, there was a caller that called Sheila Fogarty earlier this afternoon who came up with a classic to say that Rishi Sunak reminded him of a mathematical genius who was bullied by Suella Braverman and said, "Please don't harm me. I'll do your maths homework for you if you don't mind flushing my head down the toilet."
Right. Okay. Like I said, Suk, there's absolutely no need to get comfortable. You're not going to be here that long. Thanks a lot, mate. A listener with material.
Oh, no.
Adrian from Chesterfield says, protesting is against the law and now strikes are against the law. Only a matter of time before thinking something Titchy Rishi doesn't like, and it's a thrashing for you. In fact, I bet sending this email to you will have the police rushing to my address and I'll be in jail by the end of your show tonight. It says Adrian in Chesterfield. Address supplied. Michael from Blackpool emails, having watched several sessions of the COVID inquiry this week, I'm wondering just how many lessons are being learned. It doesn't bode well when the judge for the proceedings has been all persistently coughing into the palm of her hand all week long. That's she. Don't worry, it's not catching. Coughing into the palm of her hand.
Disgusting.
Oh. Into the sleeve would be better. Didn't you bring sleeves, Your Majesty? Oliver emails, leave the Tories alone. You're always picking on us. Why don't you slag off your own side? Labour will be much worse. I've seen an iteration of that. If I've seen it once, I've seen it 1,000 times. Oh, what are you moaning about the Tories? Labour will be much worse. But based on what? Based on the last time the Labour Party were in power, when everything was better? Adam from Thwing. There's no such place as Thwing. Thwing. Thwing? Adam from Thwing emails, All these right-wing nut-job Suella supporters keep saying that she is speaking for the silent majority. Funny how this majority never gets picked up in the polls. Is she speaking for those that have already fallen off the conveyor belt of life, as you would say? They're not. That's the opposite. Thwing, apparently... OK, here's a message coming in from next door. Thwing is in the East Riding of Yorkshire, which is also a place that doesn't exist. Are you joking? East Riding of Yorkshire. Pfft, nonsense. Yeah, never mind. Funny how the speaking for the silent majority. Never has a silent majority been so loud. What are you talking about? Suella Doberman is speaking for the silent majority? What, the people who keep yelling all the time? That's silent majority. Kenny in Colorado says, "Hi, Nick. Careful now. Don't compare Bradman to a Doberman. That's not fair on the Doberman." Another listener with material. God, I'm absolutely swamped. Swamped? But you know me. I never complain.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
0345 6060 973.
East Yorkshire, not East Riding. East Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
Yeah, and leave Thwing alone. It's a great little village.
I very much doubt that. Thwing. Thwing. I mean, that does sound like a joke, doesn't it? Thwing. It sounds like a mispronunciation. Thwing. Where are you going? Thwing.
Halfway between Drewfield and Bridlington it is.
Well, that's just another two places you just made up.
You were asking why Nigel would want to go into the jungle. Well,
yes.
He announced exactly why he would go into the jungle.
Mm-hmm.
He said that GB News, is watched by largely older people.
Yes.
And if he went into the jungle, it would enable him to connect with a whole new audience of young people so he could explain what was going wrong with the country and how it should be corrected.
Yeah.
And he announced that.
Right. Yeah, I think the average age for his show is dead.
But now they actually announced that on his own show.
Yeah.
About a week ago. Madness. But no, what I really rang up about was, have you noticed that the National Audit Office has announced that the government are cutting funding for social services by 58%?
Wow. What, they're going to?
Yeah, they've announced it. It was announced today.
By another 58%? Well, that would render it to zero.
After austerity, what on earth is going on? I mean, where's Johnson's ready-made plans he announced on the steps of Downing Street?
National... I'm going to have to look this up.
Audit Office.
National Audit... OK. News. National Audit Office report on adult social care reform.
Yeah.
Is that what this is?
Yeah.
Funds committed to reforming adult social care in England have been cut by 58%, according to the NAO. More than £1 billion of the £1.74 billion agreed with the Treasury for system reform has been diverted to other care priorities, by which I think they mean other donors to the Conservative Party who have got their eye on a shiny new boat.
Going into private care and etc.
Yeah,
as
sure.
usual. Diverted away from public ownership again.
And they will say that, and then they will include it in the amount of money that they spend on the NHS, no doubt. Just like they included because when they get up and say, well, under this administration we have spent more money on the NHS than any government in history. Yeah, that's because they gave away about £86,000 billion to Tory donors for PPE that either didn't show up or if it did, it didn't work.
Yeah, it's all got lumped on the NHS. The core NHS funding hasn't gone up. It's ridiculous. I mean, my daughter is a senior clinician. The money is not improving for them. She said money is tighter than it's ever been on core stuff. And it's getting diverted into various other things, but it's not going into core NHS hospitals.
I think the spell has worn off, Mike. I think you need a booster shot of being furious about, I don't know, taking tents away from the homeless or turfing disabled people out onto the streets or whatever the next distraction bomb is. You need a booster shot of distraction, Mike. You're concentrating on reality too much.
Well, I'll tell you what's frightened the living daylights out of me this week, and that's that Suella Braverman's now trying to control the police.
Yeah.
Now, that is frightening. I mean, the judges are the enemies of the people, the doctors are the enemies of the people, real workers are the enemies of the people.
That's
but it's actually the control of it that frightens me, because that is dangerous.
Mike, people are the enemy of the people. And whichever are the actual enemies can be chosen at any given moment by the regime. They'll post a note on on your door with an update on the hour. Watch for it carefully, Mike, because you might be on that list. I suspect you will. All right, the best of luck. You're going to need it. I would throw away your mobile phone and your credit cards, because they can track you through those. Kenny and no, I read that. I'm still transfixed by Adam from Thwing. Where do you live? Thwing. I mean, is there any point at which that sounds normal? Thwing. I mean, I'd move. I mean, seriously, if I was born there and I grew up there, at my earliest opportunity, I would move, just so I don't have to say that I live in Thwing. Stu from Ipswich says, could someone turn Cruella on and off again? She doesn't seem to be working very well. Or maybe just off would be a good idea.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Wait. I can't wait another moment. Steve says, Nick, according to an answer on James O'Brien's Mystery Hour segment, your detest for the pronunciation of H as H is just due to snobbery.
What?
Mustn't grumble, though. I agree with you. Maybe we're both snobs, says Steve. No, it's got nothing to do with snobbery. It's just mangling of the English language for no good reason. H doesn't start with an H. Greg and Hemmel texts, Nick, can you put a brief 30-minute podcast together of Jonathan from Harrow's funniest calls? That will be pure entertainment for all. Let me think about that.
No.
No, and don't encourage him. Jenny in Witten says, Nick, do you think that Nigel Farage will be whinging and whining and moaning when he's on I'm a Celebrity? I don't know, but as long as he's on I'm a Celebrity, it'll make him easier to avoid. Everybody should stop watching that tripe. Seriously, people, do you not have anything better to do? There must be something more amusing on television. Preston. Hello, George.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, basically, what I've done is I've made a medium wave transmitter because I restore vintage 1930s, 1940s radios.
Why?
And I've made a little medium wave transmitter so I can transmit LBC to all my old radios, so I can listen to you and LBC on those.
Wow, that's fantastic, George. At least you're not wasting your time.
Oh, well, obviously I'm not wasting my time because I'm listening to you.
Yeah, if only there was a more up-to-date way of listening to LBC. Someone should invent one. I'll leave you with that task in hand. Thanks a lot, George. Aine in Islington says, I enjoyed Arnold much more than Sylvester Stallone on Netflix, but it was okay-ish. Well, I haven't seen the Sylvester Stallone. Everyone's got their own blooming documentary out now. That singing haircut, what's his name? The guy who looks like he loaded a blunderbuss up with tattoo ink and just stood in front of it. What's his name? That drippy singing haircut with the stupid clothes. What's his name? There's a documentary about him on now. Do I want to watch that? No. But the Arnold Schwarzenegger one is very, very good. It's very good. And so's the David Beckham one. I mean, it's surprisingly good. It made me want to go and live with him in Victoria. So I didn't know I was going to do that. You know, David Beckham in Victoria. But the Arnold Schwarzenegger one is excellent.
Affirmative.
No, I read that. I read that just moments ago. Phil from Lowestoft says, following your recommendation, I watched the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary and I enjoyed it very much. Now it's my time to turn to recommend you the documentary on Sylvester Stallone. Nah. No, I mean, I like Arnold Schwarzenegger's films. Well, the Terminator ones, anyway. And it was pretty good in the Twins with Danny DeVito. But then it did have Danny DeVito in it, so, that's where the comedy came from. But I don't think I've ever seen anything with Sylvester Stallone in that I actually liked. I'm racking my brain. Not that boxing thing, no, not that. Karen? No idea. Says, I listened to the Abbot Habit this week and I had to write to commend you on the magnificent Welsh accent you came out with. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was because, now, if you don't know, the Nick Abbot Habit is a podcast I do. It's one of the 3 podcasts that I do, and it's clips of old shows. And I'm going through some shows from 2019, just before the, the virus broke out. Fortunately, we had experts in charge of the country, so it didn't really affect us any.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
So it's just around the corner, and little did we know what was awaiting us. But in 2019, we were concentrating on other things, and it was mostly the B word, a lot of the B word, and there was this actor, I can't remember what his name was, a diminutive Welsh actor with a huge voice who was pronouncing about Brexit. And yes, I did lapse into an impression. But the Nick Abbot Habit, by the way, is half an hour, comes out on Mondays. And if you have a half an hour and you wish to be amused, I think it'd be right up your alley. It's clips of old shows, just the funny parts. And, Mondays, half an hour. The Nick Abbot Habit. Ask for it by name on an internet near you. But anyway, she says, Kerrian says, a magnificent Welsh accent you came out with, so much I think it warrants being saved to your sound bites for future repetition at appropriate moments. I'd be happy to hear it every week. And I'm a Welshman. Lecky da, yaki da, says Kerrian. That's cheers in Welsh. Yaki da. Any fool know that. And Stan in Hull says, I used to have John Lennon before Paul McCartney. Now as I've got older, I have Macca in front of Lennon. Do you concur? I completely concur. That is my opinion too. After watching the Get Back documentary, it seems to me that John Lennon was kind of annoying, particularly with you-know-who.
Oh, no.
Every time she walks into a room... I know I've said this many times before, but that's the reason why she's called Yoko Ono. Every time she walks in the room, people say, Yoko? Oh, no. It was like, bring your girlfriend to work day every day. If I had been Paul McCartney, I think my brain would have exploded. Anyway, Colchester. Hello, Judy.
Hello there, Nick.
Hello there, Judy.
Hello. I've not long been in. I was let out of my box for the evening tonight. I went to a quiz night in the village, and before you asked, no, we didn't win. But you were just speaking about the councils and the public. The councils change over to proper companies, so to speak,
yes,
to collect. Well, round our way at the moment, we still do have our council collections and for the fly tipping, and funnily enough, we were talking about it over the village hall this evening in the interval about the amount of rubbish that there is round where our clothing banks are. It is just accumulating. People just dump. Well, there's a child slide. There's all manner of things, and the more that it's there, and the more it doesn't get collected when it's been reported,
right. the more it grows.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
That around of some of the lanes and that there are, someone said there's fridges and freezers, I spoke to the village caretaker today, and he's just. His head nearly explodes with the fact, that he reports all these things, but nothing gets done.
Well, I have a suggestion as to why that might be. It's because the central government has cut the funding to local councils by about between 40 and 60%, depending on whether they're Tory or Labour. And then that's the reason why your council can't afford the things that its taxpayers demand.
But our county councillor at the parish council meetings is off to say to us that ours is not one of the councils that is particularly strapped for cash. He often says that. So where it goes, I don't know. But all I know is there's more and more rubbish accumulating. And as I say, the more people see it's there, I think a lot of it stems from the fact that...
It's like magnets, Judy. Morons are like magnets. They attract.
They just do, and it's just it's harder for people. Well, they've made it so now you have to book an appointment to go to your local recycling and rubbish tip. You have to make an appointment.
Yeah, you have to go through an interview. Yeah, and what can you bring to this tip?
Well, probably all the things you want to bring, you can't. Yeah. Which is why they get dumped.
So give us one of the questions that you were facing this evening, then, Judy, and I will answer it for you, guaranteed.
Will I? Will you? Oh, yes. Crikey, I can't think now.
Think.
What is the condition that's for short-sightedness called?
Myopia.
Oh, I got that one right. And I slung the one out about who's taking over from George Clooney for the Nespresso advert, and that is our David Beckham.
Is it?
Yes, that was
Is it really?
Today. Yeah, Nick Ferrari.
Oh, for crying out loud. How much money does David Beckham need? Is there anything that is currently on sale in a location near you that has not got David blooming Beckham's photograph all over it? Including the barbers, by the way. He must have some deal with those barbers, because every barber shop you pass has got his mug staring out at you.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Everything is going extremely well.
Suella Braverman's future as Home Secretary appears to be in doubt after Downing Street said it had not cleared an article in which she accused the Met Police of being lefty and woke.
Okie dokie.
A spokesmodel for the Prime Minister, Tichy Suitsize, says the matter was being investigated, but that a piece in the Times had not been agreed in what would appear to be a breach of the ministerial code. But he said that no one really pays any attention to the ministerial code anymore since Mr. Blobby was unaccountably elected to lead the country with the wrong skill set for the job.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
The content was not agreed by Number 10, the spokesmodel said. We are looking into what happened in this instance around the op-ed. We will update if the ranting mouth breathers on the backbenches allow us to. That is what the Number 10 spokesperson said. The ministerial code states that the policy content and timing of all major press releases, interviews and appearances should be cleared by Number 10 to ensure the effective coordination of Cabinet business, by which they mean every single Cabinet member who goes out for an interview is to recite the same untruths and misdirection over and over again, no matter what the question they're asked. Liar! Exactly. It's understood that the article was sent to Downing Street, but major changes that Cruella Doberman, was told to make were not made. This is because she doesn't do sorry, she doesn't do corrections, and she doesn't really do human very well. She's like a person, but not quite. She can't be reasoned with, she doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear, and she absolutely will not stop ever until you are dead, Fishy Sunak. Or at least until your career is dead and she can galumph over your prostrate form and be elevated to the top job of ruining the country. I mean, running the country. And as usual in circumstances where a PM is not in a coma, would have concluded that they should have zero confidence in the MP concerned. Fish's mouthpiece, the Downing Street spokesmodel, said that the Prime Minister retained confidence in the Home Secretary.
Oh, fabulous.
That is confidence, not full confidence. So I think in political doublespeak, that means he hates her, can't stand her, thinks she's fit for nothing more than a cathedral stonemason's gargoyle model. Truly terrifying, and a water spigot. She's tremendous value for money. It's like a twofer. Braverman has been accused of encouraging extremists and undermining thousands of serving police officers after claiming far-right protesters were treated more harshly than pro-Palestinian supporters, which might be explained by looking closely at far-right protesters, you know, with their jaunty swastika face tattoos and their love of fascism and violence, compared to people who are literally calling for an end to violence. I mean, if you were policing those two groups, which one would you be more fearful of? It's like saying that police treat crowds at primary school village fetes more harshly than they police the football fans at a London derby. I mean, I exaggerate to make a point. Please don't call in and tell me that pro-Palestinian marchers haven't come directly from finger-painting and egg and spoon racing. It's just the wokey-cokey that's upset with her.
Okie dokie.
Nikki Aitken, the Tory Deputy Chair and MP for Central London constituency that includes the Cenotaph, said Braverman's comments were dangerous. Neil Basu, formerly Britain's most senior counter-terrorism officer, ex-assistant commissioner in the Metropolitan Police, said Braverman had given licence to the far right and should be sacked. See? The wokey-cokey. Senior Tories appeared to back away from supporting Braverman, but not all. Not all of them. Can you guess which one was chief among Doberman's supporters? I'm going to go ahead and say that you're right first time. Step forward and take a bow. Deputy Tory Chair Lee Anderson, who said the Home Secretary is only saying what most people are thinking. Well, she's saying what Deputy Tory Chair Lee Anderson is thinking. Interesting that he is obsessed about what ordinary people are thinking and wants action to match, with the notable exception of what people are thinking about him and his catastrophic clown show of a government that we've got running the joint. He urged her critics to get out more. Well, how about you get out? I mean, look at your polling. It's the will of the people. That's what most people are thinking. Chris Philp is the policing minister, if you can believe that. He's the answer to the question, what would happen if you crossed a car, rear shelf, nodding dog with a door-to-door vacuum cleaner salesman? He was asked if the article had been approved by Downing Street, and he said, I'm afraid I don't have any visibility on that. Which I think translates as, his minders couldn't think up anything that would sound good, so he just has to deploy one of the usual get-outs. I don't recognise those words. Or, I have no recollection of those events. Or, why are you talking down the nation? You know, that sort of thing. And, Sadiq Khan... No! Yeah, that's him. Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, said that Suella Doberman's comments made it more likely that the far right would seek to clash with the march on Saturday. He said, are we really saying the politicians, whether it's the Home Secretary or myself or the Prime Minister, should be telling the police which protests to allow and disallow? What's next? Telling the police who to investigate? Who to arrest? Said Sadiq Khan, Mayor of London. Yeah, exactly. Just that. Go after all criminals, investigate all crime, except the sex pests and the rapists and the crooks and the con artists of the Palace of Westminster. I mean, let's not get carried away. Graham says, bring back Marc Francois. That's what I say. Yeah. Keep saying it, Graham. Keep saying it. And one day your dream will come true. Northwich, rather. Cheshire. Hello, David.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, sir.
First thing is, I've just heard you refer to Suella Braverman as Suella Doberman.
Cruella Doberman.
Sorry, Cruella Doberman. I think that's completely unfair.
Yeah.
Dobermans aren't classified as dangerous dogs, and so the comparison is just not right.
Well,
that's the first thing.
That is a good point, and I apologise.
I am very sorry that I screwed up.
Totally screwed up. I'm so sorry. You don't know how sorry I am. I'm sorry.
And the main point I want to make is most of the media I've been watching today, well, I only ever watch it on YouTube, really. I just look at the sort of comedy highlights.
Yes.
Seem to be sort of thinking that Suella Braverman is tactically positioning herself as an opponent of Rishi Sunak.
But it's a secret, so don't tell anybody. It's just that absolutely everybody knows. Yeah.
Yeah, to sort of take over him. But is it possible that when you look at the succession of things she's been saying for a few weeks now, is it possible that that's not true and that the woman is just completely unhinged? Is that a possibility?
Has that not crossed anybody's mind? Yes, that she is totally... Yeah, it's crossed my mind.
Correct. Just a complete basket case.
Yeah. All right, good work. Thanks a lot, David. That's a psychologist speaks. No further investigation is necessary. He has reached his conclusion. Chris, the tanker driver, says, Nick, love the show. I took your advice on the Beckhams documentary and it was fabulous, he says.
Oh, fabulous.
I've just recently watched the new similar style documentary on Netflix about Robbie Williams and it's super. My recommendation for you, says Chris. Yeah, well, you can stick your recommendation, Chris. I'm not watching a Netflix documentary about Robbie Bloomin' Williams. Not now, not ever, never. No. No. Adam responds, leave Thwing alone. The name is the main reason that we moved here. It's not far It's not far from... I can't read that out. There's no such place where Richard Whiteley used to live. Richard Whiteley used to live in a place called... Oh, he's getting furious next door with me now. He's writing in all caps, bold type, like it's a headline in the Daily Mail. Like he's shouting at me next door now. There is a place called where Richard Whiteley used to live, which is quite near Thwing. I mean, do you have to correct people all the time? Oh, hello, we haven't met. Where are you from? Thwing. Oh, you mean swing? No, I don't swing. I mean, I know we've got pampas grass out the front, but that's just not my thing. And what are people called who come from Thwing? Are they called Thwingeth? Here's a call in Belfast. Hello, Brendan.
Oh, hello, Nick. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for making your call. Cheers.
Okay. Cheers to you too. What I wanted to say is that Suella Braverman, her most sycophantic and artist supporters are from a little-known Northern Ireland party called the DUP, Democratic Unionist Party.
Yes.
And they have been cheerleading her since she became Home Secretary. And yet in her last speech, her last projectile vomiting bail,
she managed to upset the only people that would give her the time of day.
Yeah. It's very rarely that I'm wrong-footed or baffled by because everybody's ploughed their own furrow by now. We know, everybody knows who's who and who's where. But for her to say that the Armistice Day protests for a ceasefire are akin to reminiscences of Ulster and supremacy by the Orange Order's marches. That there are people here in tears. There is desperation and desolation, and I don't think she realises how much she has hurt those loyalists.
Well, she's a lawyer. She's one of those very, very intelligent, incredibly stupid people. Yeah, it's got like a brain like concrete, I would imagine.
Yeah. Well, I've been listening
thick and hard to penetrate.
Well, I don't know about that now. Maybe you have information.
Thanks. See, you take a perfectly innocent remark and you just drag us down into the gutter.
Disgusting.
Thanks a lot, Brendan. I want you to go away and think about what you've done. Spence says, Dearest Nick, before you came on, I watched an episode of Some Mothers Do Have 'Em. It involved a whoopsie in Frank's beret. In spite of what you said last week about English comedy not being funny, I laughed myself silly and I'm not ashamed. Says Spence. Over to you for the next few hours. No pressure. Keep rocking, Mr. A. Oh, Bessie, I've done a whoopsie. In his beret? Oh, please. That's what used to pass for family entertainment in the 1970s. Can you believe that?
No.
I'm appalled. What was wrong with that guy, by the way? From some mothers do have him. I mean, what was supposed to be his thing? What was supposed to be wrong with him? Because there was definitely something wrong with him. He was not normal. So, did he have... I could never be in the same room as it. He either seemed to be the world's campest gay/straight man, or he had some sort of, I don't know, like learning difficulties or something, or he'd been institutionalized or something like that. There was something wrong with that guy. What was supposed to be wrong with that man? Because he wasn't normal. He's like a grown-up with a developmental age of a toddler. And the more I think about it, the more it makes me angry. That's the thing with old comedy. It makes me very angry. Somebody should write a thesis about it. First hand in the air can have a 1,000-word thesis on my desk first thing Monday morning. Luton, hello, Adam.
Hi. Oh my God, the comment you just made before is so controversial. I feel like someone's going to probably cancel you for saying that.
For saying what?
That somebody's not normal, and then saying, I'm not offended, but I feel like somebody might. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, if you're sitting on the edge of your seat, desperate to take an offence at something, then, there's bound to be something that comes along every 5-10 seconds on this or any other programme. It doesn't really matter. You can be offended about absolutely anything. I'm just trying trying to figure out what it was that was supposedly wrong about that character. What was he supposed to be? I just don't understand it, because he wasn't an adult, was he? He didn't react to anything like an adult, and yet he wasn't a child. I just didn't understand it.
Oh, okay. But on a completely different note,
yes.
So I was just calling because you seemed surprised that Nigel Farage was going to go on I'm a Celebrity, but I think it makes full sense, because isn't reality TV where politicians go to die? It's like the vicious circle of life. We seem to be like, his friend Trump was on a reality TV show, Matt Hancock was on a TV show, Boris, Nadine Dorris. Do you know what I mean? It seems like
Nadine Dorris
careers.
Okay. Nadine Dorris took time out of a busy schedule of representing her constituents to be on
Go on Strictly or something.
Right, something like that. I can't remember. I don't watch any of those programmes. But
no, I know, because you're too highbrow.
No, I'm really not. I just can't stand the misery of watching those. I don't want those people in my front room. Is what it's about. I just don't want them there.
But obviously, when he's trying to go now to be, the kind and considerate leader, he needs to rebrand himself, because he's gone down the whole fascist route, and we need him to see him as cuddly again. And a bit like it just dawned on me, like we only seem to employ celebrities, YouTubers, journalists to be the leaders of the free world, it seems, these days. So it makes sense he would go on there before, going for the big job. Because, I mean, if you think about it, how mad is it that Boris was once our leader, who was once also a journalist, and then he quit high office in disgrace, and then he became a media personality again. So it just seems like it makes sense why he would go that way, because he will become the leader of the party, I think so. Like him and, we were talking about it a couple of weeks ago, how him and Suella were in each other's warm embrace. He's the only or is it Priti Patel?
Oh.
He managed to get Priti Patel to boogie woogie. So, I mean, he's obviously
true.
got some charm for the right.
Yeah.
And so, again, he's kind of put out that persona like Matt Hancock did. He's probably going to go on there, cry, learn how to do dirty wine or do some Jamaican dancing with some of the kids there, so they don't think he's racist. Do you know what I mean? He's probably going to learn the lingo. He's going to
Yeah, you know what I think it is?
Sorry for him because he's going to eat a kangaroo's anus.
Right, sure. You know what I think it is? I think it's the money. I mean, here's a guy who will do you a happy birthday video if you stump up 3 figures. How can it not be about the money? I mean, anybody that's a serious politician who wants to be taken seriously in that game is not going to go on no stupid reality TV show. I mean, they just aren't. And I know that America is quite likely to vote for another stupid reality TV host, but he's an exception. And I know that we voted for the clown off the telly, but he's an exception as well. If you want to be taken seriously, then don't go on one of those stupid shows where you just end up looking like a dope. He'll fit right in.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Right, so what are we doing?
Given we're doing a radio show, and you were mentioned in this tweet by a person called You Said from Hampton, he says, it is my birthday today. He says, one of my gifts was James O'Brien's new book. It's good. You'd like it. When I've finished, I might lend it to Carol McGiffin.
What?
I'm sure she'd love it too.
No.
Yeah. I think it's a no from Carol. I'm a fan. Carol, not so much. I mean, we think the opposite about pretty much everything, which is one of the reasons why our podcast works so well. If you haven't heard it, then I would recommend it. If you want to be amused, if you just want to park the misery for an hour a week, then I think it'll be right up your alley. It's called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol, in which Carol McGiffin and I try to solve people's problems, and which usually involves a lot of laughing. Not necessarily at the problems, but just, we just set each other off. I think it's amusing, and I expect you might too. Give it a go. You never know. What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol is available on an internet near you. It's on Global Player, by the way. If you haven't got Global Player, it's available for free from your App Store or globalplayer.com. And ask for that podcast by name, What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol.
Yeah.
Let's have... No, who's been waiting the longest? Bordeaux. Nick.
Yes, hi.
Nick.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
I'm calling you about Sue Ellen's war on the homeless and tents and things. And I think I've got an answer. If you remember, after the Second World War, when the Germans had blitzed most of the houses in these countries and there was nowhere for anyone to live, we built Nissen houses for about 5 to 10, 20 million. They're just free housing for everybody, and they were quite comfortable, apparently. So what we should do is build 20 million Nissen huts or Quonset huts.
20 million?
Yeah, I think 20 million is a perfectly reasonable figure. The housing market would obviously depreciate, so you'd have to do a sovereign default or something.
I'm not sure that that's true. I don't think people would prefer to live in a Nissen hut.
You're not sure?
Well, no, they wouldn't.
I don't know. I'd rather sleep in a Nissen hut than be homeless.
Oh, yeah, but 20 million people aren't about to become homeless.
No, not yet. I suppose you're right, yeah.
Not yet. That's a good point. Yeah, not yet. But they haven't finished with us yet. Yeah, there's a whole year of this regime to go. That's right.
Exactly.
By the way, this line from Bordeaux in French France is the best line that I've spoken to anybody on so far on this programme. Most of the people that call from this country, they could be just down the road. You can barely hear a word they say. But you, in France, it's coming through clear as a bell.
No, I'm probably talking into my telephone, which makes a difference. It's not 10 feet from my...
Maybe you're talking into your hat, Nick.
I could be, well. Yeah. I could be indeed.
All right, well, thanks a lot, mate. 20 million Nissen huts, that's what we want. No, but maybe a few might not go amiss. Ugh. I think I swallowed a fly. Now I'm going to have to swallow a spider to get the fly. We know where that ends. Michaela in Hebden Bridge says, is getting sacked a lifestyle choice by Suella Braverman? This says, I hope the keys to the Tower of London are well hidden from Cruella, and I dread to think of her having access to the nuclear button. It's not just the button, though, surely, is it? You must have to go through more of a process than just stabbing your fat finger on a button. It must be more than that, isn't it? Marty says, Nick, I'm thinking of buying a synthesizer on eBay. Music is rubbish these days, and I think I can make it better. Well, go ahead, Marty. Knock yourself out. Bath. Hello, John.
Hey, do excuse me because I'm slightly annoyed right now. I attempted to make a vegan stew with root vegetables, and honestly, it was like trying to. Some of these root vegetables, it was like trying to crack into a safe just to open them.
Yeah.
And by the end
we're talking about you, turnips.
Yeah, bloody turnips. But no, some of them would they're weapons of mass destruction in vegetable form.
Yeah.
But,
well, at least that's the effect that it has on me. It creates me into a weapon of mass destruction.
Well, when you start going into veganism and things like this, you're left with not very many choices. I know that you were a vegetarian and you relapsed into sanity.
I did. That's right. Yeah.
Good for you.
I'm not going back there again. I've done my bit to protect the environment.
No, I was going to say, they're going on about Armistice Day, and they're going on about, the Latin translation of Armistice Day is stop fighting.
Yeah.
And I can't think of a more appropriate day to actually to protest against war. But because it's been weaponized by Mrs. Doberman, and she's like being an adjunct provocateur, everyone's lost their perspective on reality.
Well, I know I have.
Yeah, I have too.
Am I hallucinating or is this real life?
I know, I can't work it out. It's just I've gotten to the point where it's just like, and as well, will this government just leave the building?
Yeah,
you're not welcome anymore.
Right. When is this misery going to end? Approximately to the nearest month. Can you give us a clue, some idea, so we can gird ourselves to make it that long?
But Nick, do you know what a journalist actually said? That if Suella Braverman was to be put to one side, that they might get Michael Gove in to fill her shoes.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, when are we going to stop recycling this barrel of slugs?
Because they've scraped the bottom of the barrel and they scraped through the wood at the bottom of the barrel, and now they're just digging up whatever they can find in the earth. They don't have any more. There isn't anybody in reserve.
A major capital letters, big news story.
It wouldn't be a major capital letters, big news story if Michael Gove was made the new Home Secretary, because he's like the Swiss Army knife of well, I don't know what's a pleasant way of saying nasty.
He's just happy as long as he's got some poppers.
I have no idea what that means. Thanks a lot, John.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
And remember, darling, I don't work before 10 in the morning and never after 4:30 in the afternoon.
Those are the rules. Phil says, I have an idea how to calm the 20-mile-an-hour whiners. That's what they are. They're just whining like babies. Oh, I don't want to drive this slowly. It's not like playing a video game. I don't want to. Phil's got a good idea. He says it's the number that is freaking them out, so why not make it 30 kilometres per hour? Or is that too EU? Yes, it is, but that's a good idea. I bet that is actually the partly true. It is the number that is freaking them out. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that if you are a pedestrian, which is what car drivers become when they park and get out, if you are a pedestrian, then being in an area on a road where people are driving at 20 miles an hour is so much more pleasant than when people are driving at 30 or 40. It just is. This nonsense about the war on drivers is not a war on drivers. It's a positive move for people. Bristol, hello, John.
Hi, Nick.
John.
Hello, Nick.
Yes, John.
Yes, love your work, Nick.
Thanks.
Do you remember a classic 80s sitcom, The New Statesman?
With Rick Mail. Yeah.
Rick Mail played Tory MP Alan Bastard.
Bastard, yeah.
Yeah, yes. I swear Cruella de Braverman has modelled herself on Alan Bastard. Only he was funny, and this isn't.
No, it isn't.
And she isn't, and she is appalling.
She doesn't appear to have an amusing bone in her body. I mean, I wonder what she actually does for laughs. What makes Cruella Doberman laugh? Can you, apart from the plight of the poor?
Well, indeed. Hey, and who would have thought that, a bunch of people calling for an armistice on Armistice Day would be anyway controversial?
That's right. You people calling for peace, what you're actually doing is calling for hate. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot, John. Cheers, mate. 0345 6060 973. Sam in Bedbury says, Uncle Nigel will fit right in the jungle with all these snakes. In fact, he'll probably scare them off, he says. I mean, I do find it difficult to talk about Nigel Farage without playing this.
I'm immensely grateful to you for everything you've done in British.
But we don't want to hear that again, do we? Oh, you do?
I'm immensely grateful to you for everything you've done in British politics over the last few years. I used to be an ardent Remainer. I voted Remain. I believed in the European project. I believed that staying in the European Union was the best thing for us. And then something happened, and something monumental happened. It completely changed my opinion on the whole situation.
What was that monumental thing, Mark?
I was kicked in the head by a horse.
Right, very good. Okay, fine. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Nige. You're the best. You're the best, worst person ever. Neil in Tenby says, are you going to have a new pick taken for the global app like some of the other LBC presenters have done so lately? Nick Ferraris is particularly fetching, says Neil. Let me think about that. No. They did a day of photographing, but I was sadly unavailable, what with washing my hair and all. Let me see now. Brixton, hello, Clive.
Oh, hello, Nick.
Yes, Clive.
I just wanted to draw your attention to something. I was watching the late, great Jim Bowen this afternoon.
Jim Bowen.
I flicked over to the news, and I couldn't believe the similarity between our esteemed Met Police Commissioner. And I thought to myself, he's a comedian too.
Which one was Jim Bowen?
Jim Bowen was the guy on the bullseye, the darts thing.
I'm going to have to get
it. Like the guy, he would give people prizes like a speedboat when they lived in the Midlands.
Yeah, when they lived on the 20th floor of a tower block. Yeah.
Yeah, and you won the star prize of a speedboat.
Oh, Jim Bowen. Yeah, right. Oh, that's right.
Jim,
yes.
I'll tell you what.
Here's
get a picture of Jim Bowen.
I'm looking at one. I'm looking at.
And you'll see what I'm talking about.
Yes. I've got a picture of him right now, and I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like peas in a pod. Have they ever been seen in the same room at the same time? No?
No.
Proof.
But I'll tell you what, Nick, if Sir Mark Rowley thinks that he's going to be in a job by Monday, he's got a big surprise coming. Because I reckon tomorrow it's going to be an absolute disaster.
No, well, that is what certain elements want. And certain elements have been itching for that exact scenario, Clive. I am expecting nothing of the sort. But anyway, thank you very much for that super smashing great call. Cheers,
nice
mate.
Shiny buttons on his epaulets.
Right, okay. Something about epaulets. Craig says, maybe it's Cruella's intention to send all the confiscated Maybe it's Cruella's intention to send all the confiscated tents to Rwanda. That will enable more people to be sent there. No hotel space required, just a field, says Craig. Greg in Cardiff says, I love your Cruella Doberman line, but to be fair to the breed, they are not all attack dogs. However, Cruella has shown her first sign of weakness today. She's now crawling back to the police, fearing any deaths on a weekend of remembrance, which she, for the first time in its history, has hijacked to suit her self-interest, is going to backfire on her badly, so it should. It's all on her, says Greg. It is all on her. I mean, all of this all of this nonsense is just weaponising certain types of individual who hear the call. Trump did the same thing with Donald Trump. Just get your core fans really, really angry, wind them up, and just let them go. And then you can just sit back and watch the mayhem unfold, and then say, well, I told you that was going to happen. Yeah. That's what that's about. Well, I told you so. Yeah. Let's have Tavistock. Hello, Rose.
Hi, Nick. Yes, I totally agree with you there on with that texter. I think this is a very, very dark personality. It must be terrible inside her head.
Mm.
And I think she, to some extent, she sees what's in her head. She sees in other people, so she can call a peace march a hate march. But, I mean, virtually inviting the right-wing nut jobs to start rioting.
Yeah.
And, I couldn't agree more with that texter, because I find it totally offensive. I mean, this weekend means a lot to a lot of British people. But the chances are, Nick, maybe that she can then use any, let's bring it on. And I think you're right.
Unrest.
I think the police...
Yeah.
I think the police will have it sorted, but she can use, the disorder to say, well, all this day of all days, we now have to ban all protests and justify the government getting us out of the Court of Human Rights that Churchill helped, to create.
I think this enemy of the people, Winston Churchill.
Winston Churchill,
Mm-hmm.
I almost feel offended about this. I'm not a great memorial person, but I always try to stand up at in silence at 11 on the day that is tomorrow, and it's just inexcusable. She's the one that's desecrating it for her own sodding ends. I was going to say a bit about my parents, actually. I mean, some of us, that means me, and those like me, we were brought up actually almost imbued with a sense of both wars, but obviously particularly the second one. My granddad was scarred by having been on the Western Front and remained unemployed for the remaining 60 years of his life. And his son, my father, well, he met Mum in the Royal Memorial Jewish Hospital in Manchester, where they were both working. Very lucky to be, in a way, to be in reserved occupations, you see.
Yeah,
in the 40s.
I mean, what you've just described is what I think up and down. It's, we do cloak ourselves in piety when the hour of 11 comes around once a year, and then completely forget about all of those people for the rest of the 364 days a year. I'd be more impressed with the government's outpouring of ire about the potential protesters if they actually cared about the people who are veterans for the other for the rest of the year.
Yes, quite. Yes, I was just, I don't know why I sort of wanted to tell this, because it's not a huge story, but both my parents were saved actually from the bombs that did come down on the hospital. And Mum used to say to me, "Oh, my evening dress went up with the bomb," because that's how they used to talk about it. But she was saved by matron, because the nurses all said, "Oh, well, we go down into the shelter tonight? There's not going to be an air raid." "Oh, yes, down we all go, you see." And, of course, there was. And it fell on the nurses' home, and all the maids were killed. All the domestic staff were still there. They hadn't gone down.
So not a happy story,
father,
then.
He well, at least it means I'm here, because Mum was here. But not happy in that sense. No, it was awful. And my dad, he left his cigarettes in one building, and as he got into another building, he thought, "Oh, I've left my fags behind." Went to get them, and the building he just left was bombed. So he was saved by his cigarettes. These strange little stories, they kind of, mean a lot.
It sounds like you're like a good luck charm. I'm thinking of cutting off your foot and putting it in my pocket. How does that sound?
Yeah, it's all right then.
All right, thanks a lot, Rose.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Hello, number please. Trying to connect you. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Yes, sorry to keep you waiting. Malcolm in Cornwall.
Hello, Nick. How are you, sir?
I am well, thanks.
Hey, breaking news. The
the friendly face replacement for Suella Doberman is going to be Robert Jenrick, and he's well qualified. He's well qualified because it's the Eye informing us that Robert Jenrick has stopped charities from giving asylum seekers clothes. So clothes are donated to, I think it's Friends for Calais. He is preventing them from giving them clothes, free haircuts, and the ability to read letters in English, which they don't understand concerning their asylum applications. So that's Honest Bob, an able stand-in for Cruella.
Where did you read that?
In the Eye newspaper. Remember, he had the murals painted over. He didn't like that.
Yes,
but he's even more upset at them being given clothes with this weather coming on. It's bad enough, the tents, but he'll be sending them out naked on the streets next.
Robert Jenrick stops charity giving asylum seekers clothes, haircuts, and legal help at migrant centres.
Yeah.
What's wrong with these people?
It's the whole. I mean, people keep on saying it's Suella. It's Richie partly for putting up with it. It's not, Nick. It's the whole shooting match is rotten.
Stinking lot of them.
Core.
Yeah, we ain't seen nothing yet because this is about to get much, much worse in the run up to the next election. I mean, if you think it's bad now, this is just them coasting. They're in neutral at the moment. Can you imagine what it'll be like when they get up to third gear? I can't read the rest of that story, by the way, because it's behind a paywall.
Yeah, aren't they all?
Well, no, not all of them. No, not all of them. No.
No, the juicy ones are. They put out tidbits, but the best stories are, or the ones I think intended for a certain ear are behind paywalls. It's sort of exclusive, I think.
Well, that sounds like that sounds like a conspiracy.
No. Well, what I'm saying is, it's papers like the Mail, the Telegraph, the Express, the Sun, these sorts of newspapers. They are feeding an awful lot of stuff that sensible people, they wouldn't sign up to receive that stuff anyway. But there is a feeding going on of certain stuff, I think, isn't there? Clearly. Like that one about Jenrick, look. At the first you had heard, I only stumbled across it on Apple News. It won't be on Sky, I don't suppose. I doubt if it'll be, it won't be on the BBC for sure.
I'm reading it in The Guardian now. I had to look around to find some paper that hasn't got a paywall up. Robert Jenrick has barred a leading refugee charity from offering help to asylum seekers at a Home Office accommodation centre over claims that the charity encouraged people to complain and talk to journalists.
They're gonna nail these people, Nick, one way or another.
Yeah.
If they can't send them to Rwanda, they're going to make this place a hell on earth for them to live.
Yeah, well, I think they've already done that.
There's far worse things happening in the world, I know, and people here, if they get here, they're lucky. They are lucky for sure. But these people, Nick, and this election, I mean, it'll be in November next year, October, November next year. But that's a whole year, Nick, for God's sake. I mean, there's some awful stuff. And I've been saying to you for the last year or two, people have been shocked at Bodger, then Truss, and now this. And there's a lot more is going to go wrong and going to get worse, Nick, with
we
these
ain't
people.
seen nothing yet. We haven't even had the start of the campaigning yet. And the campaign will consist of, in large part, billions and billions of carefully targeted adverts to your social media feed that just look like concerned citizens, but actually aren't. It'll be the outpouring, the brain farts of billionaires who don't even live in this country.
Do you know what I'm amazed at, Nick? The COVID inquiry and all of these people who things are coming out about and who are still in their posts. Yeah. If I'd have been these people, well, first and foremost, I'd have known all of this stuff was heading my way. I'd have got the hell out of Dodge, I would have. But they're still in posts.
Yeah.
And daily, there's stuff
coming about them.
Every single person that we're hearing appalling things about has been promoted or is earning multiples of their wage at that time.
And they're going to be knocking on people's doors, Nick, asking for their vote.
Yeah.
I mean...
And just enough people are just forgetful enough and self-centered enough to ignore everything that's gone before for the prospect of keeping some of their money in the future.
I know Braverman is in a safe seat, right? You know, let's go back to her. She's in a very, very safe seat.
How is it? How can that possibly be? How can any seat be safe for her? For this regime? I mean, we've had 13 years now. How much more evidence do you need?
But the point I'm making, Nick, is this, right? She either has to know who is 100% voting Tories, or how can she have the stomach to knock on any door? Because Lord knows what she's going to face.
I bet she doesn't.
No.
This is the Home Secretary. She ain't going to knock on anybody's door. Are you kidding?
No, maybe not.
No.
Anyway,
all right.
Nick.
Yep, thanks a lot, Malcolm. 0345 6060 973. This says, hi, Nick, the person in Thwing, they should move to Thong in Kent. Yeah, and if you're selling a child's garden toy, then you'd have a Thwing going for a Thong. That wasn't worth it, was it? Ricky tweets, hey, Ricky, you're so fine, you blow my mind. Hey, Ricky. He says, hi, Nick, you mentioned at the start of the show that you joined Instagram. I went to have a look, but I couldn't find you. But I did find this pic that Carol McGibbon posted of you both. Care to explain? No. But nor does it really make much sense to me talking about this because other people can't see it. How can they see this picture?
Well, I mean, he's tweeted it, but I think you could potentially give a description.
Well, it's a picture of... they look like two children, but it's Carol McGiffin and the back of my head, which is by far my best feature. And I'm wearing a shirt that I've still got. I look like... It's a cowboy shirt, essentially, but it's not really a cowboy shirt, but it's a denim shirt. And there's Carol McGiffin in a leather jacket like a hooligan. But I don't know where you'd get that. Where can you get that?
Well, obviously the guy tweeted I'm just trying to get his account back up, so I did have it.
Right, but it's on Carol McGibbon's Instagram account. And I am on Instagram, but I just keep forgetting that I'm on Instagram. I don't want to sit there and scroll through Instagram all day. It took me about 10 seconds to realise that Instagram is the most addictive thing that has ever been invented, up to and including heroin. And so I thought I just put the phone down and I walked away. I thought I'm either going to get addicted to this and not do anything else for the rest of my life. It'll be just wasting my time between that and Twitter, or I'm just going to stop looking at it now. So that's what I did. I stopped looking at it at that moment and I haven't looked at it since, apart from when I posted a couple of pictures. My name on there is called Abbot's Camera, I think, something like that. And there's a couple of pictures of flora, not fauna, flora. Let's have. Oh no, maybe it's getting a bit tight to the news. I'll see if I can squeeze one in. Ranjit.
Hiya, mate. You all right?
Yes, I am great, mate.
Okay. I'm going to say in reverse, but there's a little place in not far from here, and if I say in. You can work it out. Okay, it's called End Bell.
End Bell.
Yeah, I've said it backwards.
Oh, is there?
It's a little village in Worcester. I think you're serious.
No, there is not any such place.
Okay, tell your glamorous assistants to look for it. Yeah, you know what? You can do a whole list of the places. Yeah, which are really funny.
Is it one word or two?
I think it's just 2 words.
2 words.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I was the one that told you about calling her Cruella Doberman. Yeah, because I heard it somewhere. Right. So. You can't use that in evidence and say it was Ranjit, when you're up in front of the beak. Yeah, okay.
It was you. I knew it was somebody. I just couldn't remember who it was.
You said you was shocked that you never picked that one up.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Cruella walking, when you see her side, when she's walking from the side? Her body shape's really funny, isn't it?
Everything about her seems to be twisted, but internally and externally. She seems.
And her neck. Have you seen the neck? No, honestly.
Is it that thing that's right beneath her face? Yeah.
Yeah. You'd think to yourself, you know what? You haven't been gifted by nature, yeah? Just try and be a nice person.
Well, right? And no wonder she's furious because, with nature, because, I mean, look at what nature's done to her.
And the other thing is, I think that, Rishi Sunak and her are playing good cop, bad cop, behind the scenes somewhere. Because there's no way that I would let an employee of mine embarrass me that much, right? Yeah. Because at the end of the day, Nick, right, what they're saying is that because he gave her job back, because she gifted him the right-wing vote, right? Yeah, that's not enough of a hold on someone.
I don't think that's what is going on. I think they're playing bad cop, which is which just doesn't really work. It doesn't have the intended result. Here, Ranger, sorry about this, but I'm going to have to go. But the news is that Bell End is a village in the English country of Worcestershire, situated approximately 2 miles southeast of Hagley, if you can believe that.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global. Leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Hello.
This is absolute tosh.
0345 6060 973. Email from Rose says there is a place called Oswald Twistle. It's either in Cumbria, where I used to live, or in Lancashire, further south. Or maybe it just doesn't exist at all. Email says, no, not snobbery. It's just wrong. You can't say what isn't there. H is a proper noun in the dictionary. It wouldn't be snobbery if someone called Anne corrected people who said Han. It would be just as wrong and baffling if they did. They don't do it to any other letter of the alphabet. I'd have less problem with them if they were at least consistently wrong. That's right. That is correct. H ain't got no H at the beginning of it. That's just a fact. Duncan in Alicante says, I once knew a lady from Trunch, Norfolk. That's a name, says Duncan. Trunch. Nonsense. Tom emails, things are quite bad, but can you just imagine Suella Braverman becoming PM rather? It would be truly terrifying and worrying. I wouldn't be surprised if it actually happens. No, I wouldn't be surprised if it actually happens, because musical chairs over there seems to be the order of the day, despite the fact that certain individuals did say this.
My view is the change of leader requires a general election.
Yeah, that's my view too. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I agree with Jacob Smug.
What?
Yeah. That's how twisted things are. A retired senior... I better take this call first. He's been waiting forever. Reading. Hello, Harry. Harry?
Hello, mate. I think you're calling to me.
Yes, Harry.
This is Nick in Colebrook. Yes, I was Harry for a secret call you asked me to do for another show a couple of days back.
I'm very, very confused. Please don't worry. Please don't explain it any further.
Okay. By the way, when you mentioned Jim Bowen earlier on, did you know, as far as I'm aware, he's the only quiz show host who has actually had a serial killer as one of his contestants. He had John Cooper on there.
I'm unfamiliar with John Cooper's work.
Yeah, he was the serial killer back in 1989.
Right.
He was on Bullseye. He was one of the contestants. I don't think he won the vote.
I'm glad to hear that. That would have been his getaway vehicle, yeah.
If that's not scary enough, and could I ask you to cue your scream, which I think might be very apt at this moment, one of Sheila's guests that she was talking to, he reckons that within the next 5 years, Nigel Farage will be the leader of the Conservative Party.
Oh, no. Nigel Farage is going to be the leader of the Conservative Party.
We've got a few idiots in our party.
I couldn't agree more.
We've got a few idiots in our party.
One more time.
We've got a few idiots in our party.
They've got a few idiots in their party.
quite scary. The reason I called in was I did a little bit of research, finding out how many MPs are actually millionaires, and it said that the MPs earn more than the lower wage, 90% of the lower wage earners, and there's only 2% of millionaires in this country, to give you some idea of how much money is flowing around at the top end of the country. What I'm really wondering is, also you've got 87 MPs and landlords, and there you are with people struggling with houses falling apart and all the rest of it. I wonder how many of those aren't caring for theirs.
Well, they specifically voted down making your rented accommodation habitable for human beings. They voted that down.
Yeah. And then I go on further with so many jobs that you're not allowed to drink in any way whatsoever.
Yes.
Who would be allowing anybody to, when you're a millionaire? First of all, this is the bit I never understand. Being a millionaire, there's 8 bars within the House of Commons, and you're allowed to drink 24 hours a day within the building, and you're driving the country.
I know, you're not allowed to drive a bus when you're drunk, never mind about the country.
Which, it does really sort of answer the question of why there's so many stupid remarks and decisions made, the laws made to run this country. Think about it, most of them are probably out of their faces on goodness knows what. And if they were only allowed to be breathalyzed and drug tested every time they went in, I'm sure a lot of people might be failing that test.
It would be deserted. There wouldn't be anybody in there. All right, well spotted there, Harry. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Tom says, things are quite bad, but can you just imagine Suella Braverman becoming PM? Did I just read this? I'm getting déjà vu. It would be truly terrifying and worrying. I wouldn't be surprised if it actually happens. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it actually happened either. It'll be a toss-up between her and Priti Patel. I don't know what we've done to deserve this, but it must have been really, really bad. A retired senior police official has accused the Home Secretary and ministers of unduly pressuring the nation's most senior police commissioner to ban a pro-Palestinian protest on Armistice Day. Neil Basu, who was the Met's Assistant Commissioner for Specialist Operations and the National Police Chiefs Council lead for counter-terrorism policing until 2021, said that blimey, can you imagine write that on a door? We're going to have to get a bigger door. I mean, the sign writer would have to write that so small just to fit on one door. Anyway, this bloke said that the public interventions by ministers signalled the end of operational independence in policing and that they were on the verge of acting unconstitutionally. But hey, what does a man who was the Met's Assistant Commissioner for Specialist Operations and the National Police Chiefs Council lead for counter-terrorism policing know about policing? Metropolitan Police Chief Sir Mark Rowley has been under intense political pressure to use powers that could help an appalling Home Secretary to pin titchy suit size into a corner to fire her, which would give her the freedom to run for the top job, where she can really show how unpleasant she can be. I think I've read that wrong. That should read, Metropolitan Police Chief Sir Mark Rowley has been under intense political pressure to use powers to prevent a pro-Palestinian march from going ahead tomorrow on the eve of Remembrance Sunday ceremony in London. And for those that don't know, the Remembrance Sunday ceremony is where top representatives of the establishment form a solemn line to pay their respects to veterans whose plight they don't think about for a single second on any other day of the year. Politicians including Cruella Doberman and Titchy Suit Size have claimed that protests could risk disorder at the Cenotaph, though the march is in a different part of the capital and at a different time. But apart from that, it's curious, ain't it? It's a march nowhere near the Cenotaph at a totally different time of the day, and the Home Secretary and a mini-me, Titchy Suit Size, are talking up the chances of a dust-up as though that's what they actually want, just so they could say, there you are, you see, told you so. The Met Police Chief Sir Mark Rowley was hauled in for a meeting with Titchy Suit Size on Wednesday after saying that he had concluded that the threshold for preventing the Palestinian Solidarity Campaign march from going ahead had not been met. poor Metropolitan Police Chief Sir Mark Rowley. That must have been like being attacked by a cashmere jumper. Getting a dressing down from Rishi Sunak. The horror. The horror. I mean, we really have gone full Trump now. We've got the government saying that some marchers are enemies of the people and encouraging their right-wing fans and fanatics to do the police's job for them, as they are too woke to do it themselves. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? I mean, is it completely out of nowhere to think that what the regime is angling for is that the police become the enforcement division of the Conservative Party? Am I hallucinating? Because that's what it looks like to me if I squint really hard. And then we had the Prime Minister himself say, there remains the risk of those who seek to divide society using this weekend as a platform to do so. And he's completely right. In every respect. But not about who it is that is seeking to divide society and using this weekend as a platform to do so. That would be...
this government...
Exactly. 0345 6060 973. Carla from Crackpot texts, hey Nick, stop taking the Mickey out of Thwing. It's a perfectly normal name. No, it isn't. It's not. It's just a fact, that is. What else? How many of these have I got? Oh my God, I'll never get through. How do these people get my number? Simon says, please don't do your David Beckham impersonation again, as I just laughed so much I spat beer all over my computer. Helen in Hartford says, can I just say it's not the Welsh accent which got me on the podcast, the Nick Abbot Habit. It was the gay Glaswegian accent. Please do that accent again. Well, let me think about that.
No.
It's not a request show, but you can hear both of them on the Nick Abbot Habit. It's a best of podcast, best of clips of old shows. Comes out on a Monday. It's half an hour long. The Nick Abbot Habit. Ask for it by name on an internet near you. I think you'll love it. Sandra says, there's a village called Land of Nod. No, there's not. There isn't. In the East Riding of Yorkshire, which is also a made-up place. Mike in Sutton says, the newest phrase being peddled by Tory ministers on the rounds this week when refusing to answer a question was, I'm answering the question my way. Do they think we're all stupid?
Yes.
Yeah, they do. There's just enough, not all of us, there's just enough stupid people who will forget everything that's happened to them over the last 13 years and cannot wait to put their cross next to the blue square. All it takes is the early 40s, the early 40%. That's all. They don't need a majority. They almost never get a majority, the Conservative Party. They almost never, I think, since the Second World War, maybe once they've had over 50% of the vote. They usually get 100% of the power by achieving less than 50% of the vote. That's the way our screwed-up system works. So they know that. And they know that their fans are much more likely to go out and vote than the fans of any other party, because their fans are old. It's the 60-pluses that are the problem. 60-plus years old. No! I'm afraid that that's true. The only demographic that is more likely to vote Conservative than any other party is the 60-pluses, and they are adamant. So if you can just get all of the 60-plus-year-olds out, the Tories will win again. They will. And that's not going on old results. That's the opinion polls of right now. If you break them down, those over 60 years old, they are fully supportive of everything that they've heard from this government. They love it. Can't get enough. Can't wait to vote them in again. And because the kids, they just can't, it's like, I can't be bothered. It's so boring. They're all the same. Nothing ever changes, you know. God, if I've heard people ring in with that once, I've heard it 1,000 times. And these people should be thrashed. And I don't mean metaphorically. I mean actually bent over to the table and thrashed. Get a bit of common sense at them. But that's what the Conservatives are going for. And they know that absolutely that their all of them, 100% of their fans will come out and vote. And if 100% of everybody else does not do that, then, once again, we will be run by a party that has all of the power with a minority of the mandate. Still, never mind. It's just life.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Now, wait a minute. I don't like that kind of talk. Now, just stop it. It upsets me.
Speaking of which, Jeff says, geez, Mr. Abbott, if you and LBC go any more to the left, you'll be going in constant anti-clockwise circles. Wishing you could all be more balanced, but I realise it's too late for that, says Jeff. There's a person who heard something he didn't like on the radio and has just now thrown all of his toys out the pram. Jeff, we are pretty balanced. I mean, if you look through the schedule, you will find that not everybody, or hardly anybody, in fact, agrees with me. This is why people always call in and say, God, you and James O'Brien. It's because every other day part, they hear things that they agree with. But Jeff is one of those fundamentalists, and if he doesn't hear what he agrees with every single second of every single day, then he thinks that he's being abused. Sorry to hear that, Jeff. This text says, I think Frank Spencer was dyspraxic with a hint of camp. A hint? Full marks, though he did his own stunts, a bit like Tom Cruise. Not really, no. No, not really. Did Frank Spencer hang on to the outside of an aircraft as it took off? No, I don't think so. So I had to look up dyspraxic. It's known as a developmental coordination disorder, a common disorder that affects movement and coordination. Right. So that underlines my discomfort about that programme. Apart from the fact that it wasn't funny, which is absolutely true, we were being encouraged to laugh at somebody who had a disability of sorts. Is that not true? I mean, there was something not quite right about Frank Spencer. And what was it that we were laughing at? Initially, I thought, well, we're laughing at him because he's camp, because he's gay. You know, in much the same way as, well, a lot of the comedians in the 1970s were gay. You know, like, oh, shut that door, Larry Grayson and others that I can't think of at the moment. But, you know, there was loads of them. And I think that the country sort of took them to heart because they made it acceptable to laugh at, not with, but at gay people. Oh, look, you know, like they're all like that. Oh, like that, like that. I don't know, it just irritated me, that whole thing. Like, what was Frank Spencer supposed to be? And I think that we were encouraged to laugh at somebody who had some sort of developmental problem, who also didn't seem to have any coordination, and, you know, there's just something up with him. It just made me feel uncomfortable. But the reason why I didn't watch it was because it wasn't funny, and that is true. There was hardly any programme that was supposed to be a comedy in those years that is still funny now. I think I'm coming up with Fawlty Towers, that's it. Leicester Ishmael. Leicester Ishmael.
Yeah, hi Nick, you okay?
Yes, good, thanks.
Yeah, I think, look, as Roman's concerned, you know, she's talking about hate marches, etc. I think the only one full of hate is herself. I mean, she looks in the mirror every morning. I'm sure she must have seen somebody who's full of venom in every aspect of, you know, every department, every law that's been considered. She just seems to be spewing out consistent hate for one or the other parties.
Yeah,
you know,
I just think that it's it doesn't come out of nothing. It's probably, I wouldn't be remotely surprised if it had been focus grouped, if everything that she is saying had been tested on an audience to see whether her target market likes it or not. I just don't believe that she randomly comes out with this stuff.
No, I think it's inbuilt. Believe me, I think it's inbuilt, and she's just got this pure hatred. Believe me, and that's why she says things. She said things about Muslims. She said things about Islam. She said things about.
But I don't believe any of it. I just don't believe it. I don't think that it is just her expressing her innermost feelings. I think it's her having calculated what it is that she can say in order to make herself more popular with her target market. I mean, people say, she's just full of hate and, it's just all coming out of her and she's just a dreadful person. I think it's much more calculated than that. I mean, she's not completely stupid. I mean, she used to be a lawyer, so you have to have a certain amount of smarts around you. I mean, I know that most of it's just learning and to repeat parrot style. I know that that's what that is, which is why lawyers are in danger of being replaced by artificial intelligence.
Affirmative.
But, I just don't think that these are just like explosions of hatred coming out of her. I think that she thinks, what can I say that's really going to wind up the libs? Because that's what most of this stuff is how can I wind up the liberals? Small L. Those who are not on my side. Because it really pleases those who are on the right when the liberals get upset. Donald Trump does the exact same thing. All of these sort of far right-wing leaders, they all do the same thing. If you can't improve the life of the people that you're trying to get to vote for you, make them feel as though other people's life is worse. Make them angry about the other side. So it's not. I mean, people think that it's bad that she comes out with all this stuff, but I think it's much worse than that because it's not. I don't believe it's an honest expression of her feelings. I think it's calculated and designed in order to get a reaction, which is worse, isn't it? Thanks a lot, Ishmael. Gotta go. 0345 6060 973. John in Hartlepool says, you leave the lovely Suella alone. She's doing her best. I don't know, it's funny that... well, it's not funny, it's awful. That phrase used to come up when we were in the midst of COVID a lot. Relating to a certain Mr. Blobby.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
People used to bring up Furious. I'd be having a go at him, for no good reason other than that he was the leader of this country and he was doing an abysmal job, totally unsuited to the task, for no other good reason than that. And people used to call up Furious. You leave Boris alone. First name always Boris. Oh, like he's a pet. He's not your pet. Leave him alone. He's doing his best. Like mummying him, essentially, which is exactly what he wants. That's what his whole act is about. Paw! Like a child who is unable to dress himself properly. So it brings out the mothering instinct in people, which is what that is. Leave him alone. He's doing his best. He can't tie his shoelaces. Well, he tried. That. 20,000 people died unnecessarily. Oh, leave him alone. No other politician got that, ever. In the history of politics, nobody has ever called in to defend anybody, any politician, with the phrase, leave them alone, they're doing their best, when they clearly weren't. Or when their best was clearly not good enough, not remotely good enough. Why did he get a pass? I think because he presented himself as a teddy bear, doesn't he? That's the hair thing. I mean, he deliberately undoes his hair in public. That is not normal. His hair does not look like that ordinarily. He messes it up for the cameras. He's the only person that looks in the mirror on the way out and undresses himself. That pulls his shirt out, does his buttons in his shirt up the wrong way, and messes his hair. Deliberately. It's his act. And it undoes people. It brings out their mothering instinct. Oh, there they go. Yeah, well, he's not an R, he's a... The act disguises the darkness within. That's not who he is. Stop giving him the benefit of the doubt. And, by the way, if... because the Tory party, some elements of the Tory party are still in LUV love with him. It's not just nads. It's like there's a whole bunch of them. But why can't we have the magic of Boris? You know, the politician that reaches the members of the gullible public that other politicians can't. Why can't we just have him again, and then we can do whatever we like, and he can just go out front and go, paw, and people will just forget about it and be amused. Why can't we have somebody funny? Nothing funny about titchy suit size, apart from his titchy suit size. And they would have him back in an instant. You know they would. And we'd be in the exact same spot that we were, when he was the drear leader. God, can you imagine a world in which the tangerine tornado in America and Bodger in this country were actually leading the place?
Oh, shut up!
I mean, it just doesn't bear thinking about, does it? I've decided not to think about it.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
You're wondering what it's all about, and I can't tell you because I don't know myself.
Anastasia via X. Oh, no.
No, 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 no.
No, not X. Twitter. I am not calling it X. I just won't. X is a letter of the alphabet. I am not calling anything X. Not now. Not ever. Never. I don't care how much money that man loses on it. I'm going to call it Twitter from now until the end of time. Or until it, disappears, which at this rate wouldn't be... I'm penciling it in for this year. Anastasia on Twitter says, Nick, your reference to disabled people being homeless, it already happens. Me, for one. I was homeless 3 times, says Anastasia. Well, yeah, and the government's thinking, well, if at first we don't succeed, keep making her homeless. That'll teach her. Gary in Suffolk says, Nick, MP's on the telly, Penny Mordaunt in Splash. Splash? Penny Mordaunt in Splash. What am I missing? What's that?
So it's a diving celebrity show that was in like the mid-2010s,
okay,
and it bombed massively.
Right. You lost me at diving and celebrities. John really? Diving? Celebrities? That's it? John in Hartlepool said, what were they diving into? John in Hartlepool, because there's some some things that I would pay a considerable amount of money to see Penny Mordaunt dive into. Does the audience get to choose the substance that the MP dives into? Because if so, I'm fully on board. How do I vote? John in Hartlepool says, you leave the lovely Suella alone. She's doing her best. Oh, this is okay. This is where I went off on one about doing their best. I forgot to read to the end of the text. I'm very bad at my job. He says, I am completely serious. She comes across to me as a loving, gentle and warm lady, as you and Sado O'Brien keep saying she's not. What's your problem with her? I don't get it, and I won't even vote Tory, says John. One of the silent majority, yeah. Rob in Mudshoot texts, hi Nick, Richard Whiteley was known as the mayor of Wetwang. It's a real-life true fact. Throcking always seems a strange name. It does. Like, borderline alarming.
Warning, warning.
Pay attention when you're saying that word. In London, I'd say my favourite name is Tooting Broadway, says Rob. Mudshoot is also a station, but it doesn't really sell itself. No, it doesn't, no. Yes, I'm striking it off my holiday destinations. And Paul in Manchester says, I blame the calendar for this week's mess. How dare it put the 11th on a Saturday? We should rip them all up at once and return to using the lunar cycle. Lunar, 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 lunar. That was, Underworld? Yeah, I think so. Underworld. Lunar, lunar. Good album, that. John via Alexa says, Nick, Cecil Parkinson, Jonathan Aitken and Jeffrey... Oh, wait, I'm going to sneeze. Woo! Oh, that was fabulous. Did you get any on you? Oh, I need to lie down and a cigarette. Woo! I'm seeing stars. Oh, completely satisfied. Where was I? Oh, yeah, doing a show. John says, Cecil Parkinson, Jonathan Aitken and Jeffrey Archer, commendable, likeable people when compared to the current bunch of Conservatives. That's right. Yes, that's right. You know, when compared to any of the current clown show that we got running the shop here, old politicians do seem remarkably serious people. Oh, my God. I mean, you see Gordon Brown speak. It's like he's coming from a different century. When we had serious people doing what used to be a serious job, not this catastrophic clown show that we've had since you-know-who showed up.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
It's just been one dismal move after the next.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. What an absolute shower. Mike says they were diving into a municipal swimming pool in Luton. Co-presented by Tom Daly, it was very strange, says Mike. Well, sounds very strange. Luton? They were diving into a municipal swimming pool, which hopefully had been cleared for their, for their takeoff. Why would anybody want to watch that? Well, nobody did, which is why it doesn't exist anymore. But, I wish them all the best. Sheila in West London says, I think this brilliant government should do the country a favour and for it to be a cost-saving strategy. Does that make sense? Not so far. Let's read on. As there are many council elections in May, plus local mayors. There's just random full stops in this. I mean, she's loaded them into a gun and just blasted her message with full stops. And it's just, that'll do. There. Put it there. No, I'm not complaining or anything.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Punctuation, Sheila. Punctuation. She says, I think this brilliant government should do the country a favour and for it to be a cost-saving strategy, as there are many council elections in May plus local mayors, they could be really efficient and do general election at the same time. That way the percentage of people voting might be really high. Should I start a petition? Says Sheila. Fewer people turn out for local council elections than would show up for a... I can't think of anything. I should have figured out where that sentence was going before I started on it, eh? Yeah, never mind about punctuation. Content, that's what's important. Now, people don't go out for council elections. They don't care. They should do, because it's very, very important. I mean, your local council could quite possibly have more a direct effect on your life than central government. But nobody can be bothered. It's, and I think it plays into the right wing, because the people that can be bothered tend to be, now, I don't know whether this is true or not, but it doesn't prevent it from being a fact. The people on the right tend to vote more vociferously. They tend to be more adamant that they're going to vote. I think that is probably true. It's because people who are older are more adamant that they're going to vote, and people who are older tend to be right-wing. Up until now. When this current generation of 60-pluses drop off the conveyor belt of life, that might not be true anymore, because the old equation that made them turn from lefty liberal wokey-cokies into right-wingers is broken. And the equation was the acquisition of wealth. When you're young and you ain't got no money, then you are concerned about the plight of others, because you are those others. But when you're older and you've got a house and 2 cars and you're mortgage-free and you've got a boatload of money in the bank and you've got a big pension and all, then you want to keep all that, so you go right-wing. The trouble for the Conservatives is that all of the above doesn't apply anymore. Nobody's got a house. You can't buy a house anymore. And you can't, and you haven't got a pension anymore, and you haven't acquired wealth or any of those things that turns people right-wing. So older people, after the current crop has fallen off the conveyor belt of life, they won't turn right-wing. This could be the end of the Conservatives. I mean, they will always have, a relatively small number of people who will be, they'll be adamant that that's who they want to vote for. But the number will dwindle to an insignificant rump, and then they won't get into power anymore. They know that too. I mean, this ain't news. They know all that's true. Their model for success is fundamentally broken. So I think that that's partly why they're stripping the country for parts. They're monetising their position as fast as they possibly can because they know that the game's up. Show is over for the foreseeable future, unless something dramatic happens. Sheila in West London says, nope, I've read that torturous message already. That's what took the last 10 minutes. Chris says, Nick, I don't know why everyone is going mad about the 20 mile an hour speed limit. No one actually sticks to it. That's true. They only slow down at speed cameras. That's true. Yeah, that is true. They complain and complain and complain and then don't drive at 20 in a 20 zone anyway. And I know that that's true because I'm the only mug that's doing it. And they make it incredibly hard to stick to 20. I mean, sometimes I feel as though in sticking to 20, I'm deliberately infuriating the person behind me who is driving so close that I can't see their headlights in my rearview mirror. I mean, they're practically pushing me down the road. They're so close. And I know that they're having a purple fit in there. That if they had a gun, they'd be firing it through their own windscreen at me. I know that that's true. And sometimes I feel as though like I'm being deliberately provocative in sticking to the speed limit. I mean, how crazy is that? It's 20. 20's just fine. It's just because you're used to blasting through everywhere at 30, like you're in a video game, and nothing bad will ever happen to you because you can just restart the game. But it's not a game. Just get used to it, that's all, and stop whining. It's just so pathetic. How busy is your schedule? I mean, most trips are 5 miles. Practically every trip that anybody does in this country in a car is 5 miles or less, 10 miles tops. And the amount that you will save by going 30 as compared to 20 is on a 5 mile trip is about 5 minutes, if that. Because most of the time you're doing zero because you stopped at a blooming light, right? Or you're waiting to get onto a roundabout or, whatever it might be. So is your schedule so packed that you cannot give up 5 minutes of your intense day in order to just drive a little bit slower? Is it compromising your feelings of masculinity? And I include women in this because they're just as bad as men. Don't even think about calling me and telling me they're not. They just are. When men tailgate you, they're doing it aggressively. But women, I'm assuming that they're just not thinking. That they want to go somewhere faster, and they think, well, if I just go as near as possible to the car in front, then I'll get there slightly quicker. I'll make up 3 yards by tailgating the car. Therefore, I'll arrive at my destination 0.01 seconds faster than I ordinarily would have done. People. You can't live with them, and you're not allowed to kill them because of the European Court of Human Rights.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Oh.
Come on, we're running late.
Yeah. Come on, we're running late. 0345 6060 973. Susan in Glasgow says, Nick, I heard rumours that Harry Styles is going to be the next James Bond, and I know how much you love him. Harry Styles?
Oh, no.
No, he won't. No, he won't. No, he won't. He absolutely will not. They should give it to one of two people. That guy who was in the last Mad Max film, which is one of, if not the best action film ever made. I can't remember what it's called. It's not the Thunderdome, because that's the one with Tina Turner. It's Fury Road. That's it. Whatever that guy's name is in Fury Road, they should either give it to him or the bloke who was in Starred Up, that thing about killers in prison. I can't remember what his name is either. But both of them look like they've been punched in the face a lot, and that's what you need from James Bond now that Daniel Craig's done it. I mean, a message coming in from next door. Jack O'Connell is the correct answer. Yeah, so that bloke out of Mad Max Fury Road, or Jack O'Connell who was in Starred Up. Should be one of those two. Harry Styles. Susan is trolling me and is not to be encouraged. New York, Robert.
Hey, Nick.
Robert.
I get the feeling that it's not that hard to outflank Rishi on the right. Suella is blood-curdling. Rishi talks the talk. He wants to grip Gingies and Elon Musk, but Suella, I feel like she could actually ban the bulldog properly with going door to door herself.
She's not going to go door to door. She's never going to do that for fear of the reaction.
I watched her do that with her bare hands.
Yeah. No, I mean,
take care of the problem.
Yeah, can you imagine opening your door to Suella Braverman? You'd be going back indoors to get your toothbrush because you know that you'd be on the next flight out. It'd be a one-way trip to someplace you can't pinpoint on a map. Hey, how's New York taking the Donald Trump court case?
Situation. He's treating the Justice Department like a playground, and I think playing into the hopes and dreams of his, sycophants.
His fans.
It's pretty depressing.
His cult fans. Yeah. I hear he's leading the polls. And it wasn't just one poll either. It was like a couple of polls now by 3, 4, 5 points over Uncle Joe.
The only point of contention with the polls would be the recent deliveries, as you would say, by Democratic interests about abortion in red states, Virginia, Ohio, Kentucky.
The Democrats just had...
We might be witnessing the death knell of the right-wing resurgence we've had.
Fingers crossed. But
maybe.
I think that the abortion thing is what might do it for Uncle Joe, because those pretend Christians who have been itching to take women's rights away, to essentially make them not be able to have sex with anybody. That's what.
Well, it's to compensate for their dead bedroom issues.
Yeah. Okay. Succinctly put. Yeah. That. I think that they've overplayed their hand a little bit, because women are raising a finger of objection, as are many men as well. So I think that the pretend Christians the right wing in
Let's hope
America.
That's where the wind is blowing.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's hope that's where things are going.
The Democrats just had a really good series of election results, didn't they?
Yeah, I think I would find it on par with your recent. When it comes down to actually voting, the general populace of normal type people is prevailing.
Well, it would be about blooming time, eh?
I mean, Suella might be appeasing her online fundraising ability in the future, but I don't know if they're winning votes.
Right. No. Well, not here, but in America, I guess we'll find out. Isn't it exciting? That's a little bit terrifying.
It is exciting. I love to see Rishi squirm.
Right. Yeah. Okay. On the right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Good to talk to you, Robert. Thanks for that. Wants to see him squirm. Yeah. Well, I like seeing Donald Trump squirm.
Oh, shut up!
Being told that he's going to be fined $10,000 for speaking out of turn, for continuing to not shut up. $10,000, Donny.
I make $400 million a year, so what difference does it make?
Yeah, what difference does it make? Sure he does. Sure you do. Walton-on-Thames. Hello, Wanda.
Hiya. How are you doing this evening?
Great, mate.
All right. Well, I'm visiting, and I've just enjoyed your show so much. I have a comparison, though. These marches have really reminded me. I grew up in the Civil Rights South. I'm 61 years old.
61 years old?
I do, yeah, old lady. And so I remember the marches with the Klan and the hate marches and the signs and death to white people. And, as a kid, I could never figure out why everybody was so mad.
Death to, well, hang on a minute, death to white people?
Oh, yeah, the black people would do that. And then the white people were mad at the black people. It was both set against the other. It was horrible, horrible, horrible.
And this happened in Walton. This happened in Walton-on-Thames, you say?
No, I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. No, right. Montgomery, Birmingham. So both sides pit against each other, but we've made tremendous progress. But Suella Braverman really, as a lawyer, she should be wise to the fact that the more attention she's giving this, the worse she makes it.
I think she is. I think people are misunderstanding her whole approach. She is wise to this. She knows what she is doing. She is not a stupid person.
What's her end goal, you think, then? What is her end goal?
Her end goal, I think, is to unseat Rishi Sunak and lead the Conservative Party into its glorious future.
It doesn't sound like that's going to happen, though, from the calls I'm hearing. I don't know. It sounds like they're on their last leg here. That party's on their last leg.
Yeah.
But the hate speech, some of it is concerning, I have to say. I mean, on both sides. But the Palestinians are marching. Why? What started this? Think about that. What started this?
But
Israel was attacked.
Yeah, but that's not what started it, Wanda. When you have that conversation, then there is no point at which you can start. You have to start going back and back, and there's no recent point at which you can start anyway. You just have to go back and back and back and back. And then it turns into a history lesson. Boring! And I cannot get into that with just 2 minutes left on the show, Wanda. So what do you think about this country so far?
I love it. It's wonderful.
What's the weirdest thing about it?
Butter on sandwiches. And
butter?
Mayonnaise for everyone. Mayonnaise for everyone.
Right. All right. Okay. Very, very excited about the mayonnaise. Just a little squirt every now and again. Butter. Yeah, I like butter. I like butter. And I like mayonnaise. Why can't you have butter and mayonnaise in perfect harmony? Try it, you might like it. Kristen Stubbington says... least Jim Bowen's Bullseye was fun to watch, unlike the late Ted Rogers' 3-2-1, which I never understood the riddles. But I've got no idea. Isn't 3-2-1 that game where they gave away a dustbin? I think that's actually true. They gave away a dustbin as a prize. I think I would quite like that. Well, you could put things in it. Like, well, you could probably squeeze Boris Johnson in one.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not. It'd have to be one of those, like a wheelie bin. A wheelie huge bin. Ain't that right, Budge?
I can't comment on that.
Not commenting on that.